Welcome, everybody. Another episode of Tarot for Our Times, and yes, this is this is just a horrible tragedy. This this air collision that took place the other night, and in my comparing this to a very important part of German history, the Reichstag. Before I get started, I really want to make one thing very clear because I don't want to fall into the category of, all the kind of crazy conspiracy theories. And I will have to start out by saying that this was a horrible accident. There was no plotting and, beforehand that this was going to happen. But I will say that it was set up to, it was inevitable that something like this would happen. And I want to go back to, as an example, to the Rose Garden thing in 2020 at the height of COVID, when 45 had that big get together, and people got COVID. The guest got COVID. He got COVID, and it went to someone who I eventually ended up blocking, was saying it was terrible to say that his getting COVID was karma, this and that. My reaction is, of course, you don't say that sort of thing. But on the other hand, is what did he think was going to happen? And this pretty much boils down to this, like, what did they think was going to happen? The fact that it happened very quickly, that's another thing. But before I go into any further, I want to introduce a new little feature that I have. Is whenever I talk about this administration, I'm going to give it either a 1, 2, or 3 tower rating, which is 1 tower is pretty much well, a glitch and just another step towards this administration going off the cliff. The 2 is it's pretty serious, and 3 towers is, oh my God, this is just a complete catastrophe. So for today, in talking about this terrible air tragedy and comparing it to the Reichstag of Germany, this gets a, and I put it in the thumbnail too. This is a 1 tower and a 2 tower, and my favorite tower card, and it is a 3 tower trifecta of disasters and catastrophes. So just a little bit of a background for history lesson, and I'm going to say people better really start learning their history, because I mean this is just it's too much. I think that's why a lot of people may really voted in a very stupid way, because they failed to know history. So the Reichstag took place on February, let's see, February 27th, 1933. And it was a time when that was the main government building, kind of like Parliament or Congress. And the Nazi Party, headed by Hitler, was starting to rise in power. It's very important to note that it was kind of split, and they hadn't voted for the chancellor, but in January of 1933, Hitler got chosen by the Reichstag to be the chancellor. And so at any rate, just a little over a month later, there was that big fire at the Reichstag. And I guess the jury in history is still out. They say that the Nazis deliberately set it, and then some poor devil of a Dutch communist happened to be outside when the firemen came, and then he was, They put the accusation to him who he was a communist, so they blame the communists, the Jews, the gays, anybody that they could. And that is the significant thing about this. And the only difference is that I think German history is fairly sure that that it was Hitler's people that started the fire. This one is it was a horrible accident waiting to happen. And so, interestingly enough, our Fuhrer got up in front of the cameras and he blamed DEI. He blamed the previous the Biden and maybe even the Obama administrations for this, and then made up a whole bunch of lies as to who gets to be air traffic controllers. And so, and the kind of the veiled threat of the blacks and the gays being responsible was in reference to our former Secretary of Defense and our Secretary of Transportation. And Pete Buttigieg, he went in front of the cameras and pretty much schooled him. So the whole thing is that what they know, and I think more of the fingers are pointing to this administration, was with all the firings of some of the top people and coordinators in the air safety and staff, that they in the tower that night there was only one person, and he had to direct the helicopter and he had to direct the plane. That's a at least, at the very least, a two-person job. And the fact that both the pilots of both of those vessels were on they were on two different radio frequencies. It was really difficult. It was very difficult. So I'm not going. I didn't want to read on on what happened, because we pretty much know what happened. But I want to see how this is going to resonate, because in the German incident, the people really swallowed it hook, line, and sinker. And this was a big turning point where the Nazis really gained power and Hitler really took power. So I want to do a couple, 2 to 3 readings. And the first one is about the, this is like less than 48 hours. And so I want to see, and I've been watching every video, the legal stuff and Midas Touch, and my 2 favorite ladies on I've Had It, talking about this too, people that I respect to get the news. And so I just want to see what is the general public, I want to do a read on the general public and seeing what's happening with that. So at any rate, I've given these cards a good shuffle. And the tower cards that I took those out of the decks that I will not be using, because it'll be interesting to see. It may or may not turn up. So, all right, just one more time. So let's see. The basic card is Justice. I'm going to say that this is major arcana. This is telling me that the general public is really not going to be fooled or hoodwinked by all of this. Of course, his base is the heavy duty MAGA base. I think are just going to swallow it, and I'm going to say the rest of the public, and that's including those that may have voted for him just out of sheer fantasy and stupidity, thinking he was going to lower the price of eggs. I think that they're finding it hard to buy this, all of this blame, and I think there's going to be there is going to be a cry for justice and investigation. So The energy crossing this is, oh, very interesting. We've got our good old Seven of Pentacles. The end, this goes right along with this too. The Seven of Pentacles is saying that there are a lot of people reassessing how they have felt about him, and that this is the seeds they planted, and they're not too sure that they want to harvest that. This is kind of like and he's really very self-reflective. So he's wondering, like what did I plant here that now I'm having second thoughts of harvesting? So um, this is coming to the point where my colleagues and I on the internet are pretty much having a feel that he's not going to last much more than 2 years. I'm kind of starting to wonder if he's going to last more than 2 months. Now, I might be joking. Many times I've said things in jest to only see later that they actually came true. So, but at any rate, this is the energy I'm feeling now. So the opposition card of that is the Page of Pentacles, bringing forth a message that the oligarchy is behind this. The money is behind this, because a lot of this is Elon Musk kind of wanting to take over the skies, so to speak, and that he finds that all of these air controllers and these regulations are really getting in his way for him to go to Mars, which I hope he goes soon, I hope. Okay, so we have that. So underlying this is oh, interesting. A little bit of the past underneath the how these people feel is before this crash, in other ways, that there are people that feel like, I want my vote back. I want a divorce from all of this. And this is pretty much the divorce card. So there's the foundation of the abundance that they thought they were going to get. That's pretty much stood on its head. So before this, there has been a bit of disillusionment. So then we have, for the present, since this, oh, here we go. Here's Our Lady, the High Priestess. And that is pretty much saying that there are some secrets that are coming out about this. And kind of, I think people maybe taking a little bit of a self-examination of their, in a spiritual sense, like, is this what I voted for? Did my greed or fantasy world lead me to do this? So there's a lot of self-examination with this, and this is sitting between the dark and the light. It's I always see this as a feminine Jungian card of shining the light on our shadow selves. And I'm going to say there may be, so I don't know how large the numbers, but I think a number of people are probably trying to come to terms of voting for someone like this may have been their shadow self pretty much took over. But now that there's the light that's shining on that, so very interesting. Sometimes these cards surprise me and they send me in a different. So a little underneath this and a little bit of what they expect for the. Okay, Four of Swords here. So that's I think a lot of people are kind of taking a time out and just stepping back and reflecting on all of this. I'm going to say that also this is maybe part of the national exhaustion of what's next. And this is a cautionary tale, like, don't check out too much. But in another sense, it's like maybe you need to get up and fight another day, which is what that fourth sword is all about. So as these truths come out, there is a fatigue, but I'm going to say take a rest, but not for too long. So here we have Again in the past, the Ten of Cups. Interesting. And it's like before this happened, once again, it goes to this wonderful utopia and the magical recovering of the economy was just that, um, a fantasy. And that knowing that there are ups and downs, as in love, so it is with the economy. And oh, here we go. And a lot of people feeling the pain and feeling left out in the cold as a result of them, I'm saying, pretty much colluding with the devil, which is part of the thumbnail. But I'm going to say that behind that window are sitting in the oligarchs, and they realize, you see, upright they might be kind of plotting as to how they can get in there, but in the reversal, I'm going to say this is all about, they're realizing that they're not getting in that door and that they have been played by the oligarchs. So we're going to go to conscious thoughts, Page of Wands, and this is maybe realizing that it was kind of a very immature, emotional vote that they gave, and something that it's hard to face. But I think a lot of people started realizing that right away. But this may be more of sealing it. It's like, oh my God, what have I done? Conscious thoughts. Subconscious thoughts is okay. Subconscious thoughts is like, oh, let's stand the government up on its ear, and who needs it, and this and that. And I think with this realization is the whole thing is that yes, we do need the government. And this whole thing, this air tragedy, really proves it. There's some people you just don't lay off. I'm sorry. And I have to say is that if I were taking any kind of flight now, I'd be a little bit nervous. I mean, I don't mean to scare people, but I'd be a little bit nervous. So uh, let's see what we have in the hopes and the fears. Okay, interesting. Boy, he comes anytime this. I mean, for the majority of readings that all of us have done for Fotis, I mean, the devil comes up upright, um, in reverse. I'm going to say that in the hopes and the fears is that people are kind of getting ready to lose the devil, to unchain themselves from the devil. Whether this translates to people in Congress who are really tied up, like the Lindsey Grahams and those people, I have to say that they're thinking of it. They're dead. They're still stuck to him, but they're still thinking of it, and that maybe by freeing themselves, there's hope, but there's also fear. There's also fear about extracting themselves from the devil. So in today's ever-changing energy, and the and what's going on today, as more of the truth comes out, where are we all today? Okay, the world. And I will say this: the whole world is watching even more. Just tune into some of those Australian ladies like Libby, like Lena Rodriguez, like Marianne from Revealing Light Tarot and Astrology. They know what's going on. And a lot of the people in Europe, Hogarth in the UK, the astrologer, and they all know what's going on. But this is also talking about maybe the cycle is starting to end a little bit quicker. I mean, what else could happen? I'm afraid, like when I'm done with this and I sort of go online and see, oh my God, this happened. I mean, this is the way it is. And this is also a portal where people are going through. So this is part of that big spiritual people becoming more enlightened. But I'm going to say with a lot of and it's very woo woo and all that kind of stuff. But I want to say that with as far as this goes, I think a lot of it may begin with what's going on in the world. That for people to this the way I feel is that when people become really wise, and I'm talking about the maybe the mild supporters, it's the economy, yada yada yada, and people that maybe really don't care at all about any of this. I think as they, it was something outrageous as this is, and they wake up to this and say, "Oh, well, next time I am not going to sit home." That I think that's the beginning of a spiritual awakening and going up to that 5D that a lot of the people are talking about, is knowing that we're really part of a bigger world, and that maybe our selfish vote for a carton of eggs and a carton of milk is short-sighted, and that we're not looking at how this affects other people. And they can get a little bit abstract about women bleeding out in emergency rooms in the need of an abortion, but when all those people get killed on a plane, and it consists of a figure skating team with young people that have such wonderful promise ahead of them, just having it all end, realize that maybe I need to look at the bigger picture before I vote, and maybe to look a little deeper and see that this is an illusion. So I think this is part of that great awakening that a number of my colleagues are speaking of. But I think it really begins at home and in your daily life, and not just meditating 3 hours a day, although meditation can be very helpful. So looking a little bit into the future is like the weekend and the week as more comes out. What is, oh, I think I'm feeling the other deck. What is going to happen? Okay. This is now the Eight of Pentacles, and this is I think what people are doing is like all of these things that have happened are really building up. That this in a way, this is almost like a climax, but I wouldn't say that yet, because I mean, you look at all that's happened in this less than 2 weeks of a new administration, that people are going to look up from their daily lives and making a living and that sort of thing, and looking at the bigger picture and saying, oh my God, this is, I mean, and because it's the weekend and a lot of people are not working on the weekend, they're going to have the time to have more of this. So this is what's going to happen. I want to see a conclusion for this. What this is, I think I need to do a little bit more on this. What this is telling me is that the oligarchs are going to continue to oligarch, because this to me is a card of oligarchy. See, they're in their own little world, probably because they're afraid of another Luigi coming out of the woodwork to unalive one of them. So I think that they've built the walls a little bit higher. They're a little bit more. I always thought of her being really cut off from the world, living in her own luxurious lifestyle without having a clue as to what's going on. So this is the one thing. This is to their detriment. They're living in their own luxurious little fantasy world, and so that's that. So because we have to look at. I mean, how are they looking at this and saying, oh, "Okay, let them go say this, that, and the other thing. We're going to do what we're going to do." But I do feel like I need to have another card with this one about. Oh, here we go. So I look at this. I'm starting to look at this page of wands in reverse as that young rebellious energy. That somebody can be 80 years old and be out on a protest march, and maybe saying, whoa, this brings back some memories. And we were very effective with that as long as we, but there's a fire there, and it's kind of a cautionary tale. It's like, this tells me that people may be going out in the streets, but this is the element of fire. So I would say, have the fire of your compassion, but don't let it catch on fire so it turns ugly. But I'm going to say this is probably part of the little people, really, and it's so perfect next to this. This is the oligarchy, out of touch with reality. This is this is the population that are waking up to reality, and this is just one more very, very, very big thing that's piled on. So I'm going to say that as time goes on and we have more news about it, I'm going to say that the population of people are going to get very more upset about this, and maybe people that didn't even that they had no part of Black Lives Matter or any of that stuff. They could be getting more and more upset because we haven't seen the end of these layoffs and firings have definite ramifications, and we're one case of food poisoning away from people really getting upset when they find out the meat was tainted and that they were not warned about that. So this is hitting everyday life. That stuff, maybe it moves a little bit slower, but I'm going to say that that is something that this will be hitting our lives. And I'd love to know how many. I have a strong feeling there's a lot of air reservations that may be getting canceled. I wouldn't say en masse, but I'm going to say kind of a notable number of them. So what else was I going to okay, I'm going to do a couple of short ones. This one kind of goes right in from the last one. This one I want to do about how are the lawmakers reacting to this? Because they are, some of them have been the biggest bunch of wusses, and I have to wonder what what does he have on them? I think with Lindsey Graham, it's like, oh, use your imagination, but. I think he's got stuff on other people. I'm sure he's had a team of PIs working overtime. I wonder if he's paid them, though. Working overtime on all of this stuff. But I think it gets to be a point where, and this is what I'm getting as in my psychic thing, is that not all of them, but some of them might say, okay, the guy's kind of getting old. He's known to lie. And we could say, oh, just to know, he said I did this or that when I was back in college or whatever. Well, he's getting old and senile. I don't know if you can believe him. And if they have pictures, oh, AI. And I think there may be some of that going on. I don't know if it's quite gone up to Lindsey Graham yet, but I'm going to say that, or that, like, maybe. So what if my wife knows about that time in the hotel room and whatever, that maybe people are thinking of doing some preemptive strikes and coming clean so that he has no power over them anymore. And I guess what I want to know about is, are the lawmakers going to is this going to be a turning point where the lawmakers, I mean, they may not be jumping out of this, it's, with mea culpas this weekend, but I'm going to say, I want to know if this is going to be, I'm going to say, having them think and maybe come up with a strategy to do some damage control, because they've got to know that truth always comes out, and there's things that everybody's past they don't want revealed. So let's see. Let's see what's going on in their little minds now. Okay, let's see. So I'm going to make these kind of shorties. Okay, so generally speaking, this is so unbelievable. I can't believe these cards. The Ace of Swords, that means the truth. And I'm going to say that it's interesting that they have the sword coming out of its sheath. And what this is saying is that maybe we'll be the ones to tell our truths and unsheath the sword and use it before he has a chance to do that. And it may be confessing something to their wives or someone they messed over in business or whatever it is. But I think they realize, you know what, the truth comes out. We really cannot go on any, it's exhausting. You know, sometimes you tell the truth because it's just too exhausting to have your secrets anymore. So I'm going to say there is some of that going on. And energetically, we have, this is so funny, we have the Queen of Rods in reverse. So this is maybe talking about the energy of, she can be really ill-tempered. This can be, you know what, for whatever ramifications there is, and if somebody gets angry, that's okay. I'm going to say a lot of this is around because Kings and Queens of Rods in reverse, it's about infidelity. And as I've said, it has come up in my personal readings about why a marriage broke up. And it's kind of like the magic is gone. So what this is telling me is that a lot of this is around, you know, they're very sexy and the halls of con. So a lot of this around maybe around infidelities and visiting hookers and this and that, and that, you know, in light of his behavior, that perhaps that this just doesn't have the clout. Maybe they're realizing that this isn't as much as a career ender as it was 40 and 50 years ago, or even less than that. So I'm going to say that could definitely be losing its power. So I'm going to pull a one card here. And we have in the past, just kind of in the past, worrying about it. Sleepless nights, worrying about my, I mean, I can't tell you how many are involved. I mean, some of them are just plain old MAGA fascists, and this is like they met their soulmate with him. But I think more often not that others were intimidated. So I'm going to say this is all about the fear of one of those swords coming in for the kill because he knows this and that. And the other thing about me, and this is all like about blackmail. And I think even the, you know, people like Rachel Maddow have been questioning this. I mean, how does he hold such a grip on them? So there's about this. So coming into the future, we have the death card in reverse. And I'm going to say, there's many definitions, but I'm going to go with this, like the near-death experience. And maybe like not being able to if you let go of a lot of BS that you're hanging on to, you're able to, even if it's like stuff you don't want people to know about, it is kind of liberating. So what I'm going to say is that some of these people are saying, I've come so close to getting exposed and had some close calls. Maybe this time it's just time to kind of let it all hang out, and for me to lose the thoughts, the old way of thinking that this is going to ruin me. It's kind of saying that maybe holding on to stuff he has over you is more harmful than the exposure. So I would say that in this instance, if any of them have a conscience, this is what more of the thinking will be. And in conclusion, we have again, it's time to let go of the past. The past wasn't so great, thinking like how wonderful things were in my career before he came along and found out all this stuff about me. But maybe it wasn't all that rosy because you still had your secrets. So this kind of goes to a deeper sort of thing. So I'm going to say that maybe not everyone, but maybe enough of these people will say, you're only sick as your secrets. Time to let it go. Let him do his worst. I can choose to do denying it and saying he's a crazy old senile guy, or I can just come clean, but it's time to let go of the fear of being exposed. That could be enough to switch some votes around. So we've got that. And so the next one is, this shortened his term. This, because a lot of us, as I've said, a lot of us just don't see him going the full 2 years. I'm thinking, I'm wondering if this is going to maybe cut it even shorter. So let's see if we'll do a read on this. I'm going to take the cards here, shuffle them a bit. Okay, is this a big turning point and the beginning of the end for him? Is this going to mark the beginning of the end, and will his term be even a lot shorter than halfway through? For whatever reason, maybe the cards will reveal something that's going to happen, whether it's illness or I don't know about impeachment. I don't know about that, but something. I'm feeling the spirit of Barry Goldwater coming in when he made that trip to the White House and told Nixon it's all over. I've imagined a scenario. I've imagined many scenarios, but that's one of them that I've imagined. So let's see. I'm going to ask that. Is this going to cut his term in office really short or short? Okay, so, I feel like cutting them. Okay, so we do that. So we have as the King of Swords. Okay, as I've said, kings in reverse. The main one is the King of Pentacles in reverse for him because he's the corrupt king. But I'm saying that other royal cards in reverse have indicated certain aspects. And this is the King of Swords in reverse, the big liar. The big, 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 big liar. But it also indicates to me is like, I wonder if people are finally coming to terms that that's what he is. So energetically crossing that, we have, the Three of Wands in reverse. And that's telling me that plans that he and the oligarchs have had looking into the distance, they're not going to come to fruition, or they're not going to come to as much fruition. I think there will be some damage that'll take a long time to undo, but that whole Project 25 thing may not fully come to their dreams, or very, very little of it. What this also tells me with the Three of Rods in reverse is that he may be cut off for the last 3 years of his administration. Then again, like with many of us, it could mean something so different. But also, I've had some big psychic hits on March, which is a 3-month, and I keep hearing the Ides of March, the Ides of. It's not that someone's going to literally do what they did to Caesar and stab him, but I'm going to say that there will be some knives in, as far as betrayals and turning on him. But I'm thinking that there could be like 3 big ones in March that are maybe turning on him too. So there's a lot of meanings into this card. So we've got this and a little bit of the past. Okay. Now this is an interesting one because of there's been talk of the fact that the math doesn't math as far as his win. There may have been some, well, he almost just about all, he hinted, I'll say, he hinted strongly that Musk had a big part in his win in Pennsylvania. Then we have the Russians, who I think are also having buyer's remorse. To me, this represents the stealing of elections and that sort of thing, but also since it's in reverse, it could be revealed. Something, maybe not to overturn it and send him packing and ushering in uh, Kamala Harris, but some aspects of the election that could be coming to light that may be putting the swords in a little bit more as far as his power of the presidency. So let's see. Coming up in the future. The world again, the whole world knows it's also about the end because it is the last card of the tarot. And they finally got a major arcana with this, which is a big kind of yes card about he may not see the end of his term. So that indicates the end of a cycle. It could be the end of his cycle. May not entirely be the end of MAGA, but I think it'll take a big bite out of it. And also, again, the portal with people coming in and being aware. I would say, even let's assume that the whole election was up on the up and up. I would say if it were held today, he wouldn't have a prayer. He wouldn't have a prayer. So that's coming in the future. And to conclude this, we have, oh boy, we have the Wheel of Fortune in reverse. This is like, this is a one thing with all these people getting killed. And God only knows, I think there's some more really heavy duty stuff coming down the pike, is saying this is about karma and his whole fortune of, we come to the card of the year of justice in reverse, that he always seems to get away with everything, is that the Wheel of Fortune in reverse is saying that no, not so fast, not so fast. He may not see it in the court, but karma's going to, that's what I've been saying, karma's going to get him somehow or another. I don't know if, and this is all for entertainment only. It could be in very bad health for entertainment purposes only. And also what these readings have said that in the judgment card, like people are waking up. I'm not going to say everybody. His hardcore things in the red states, who I think are real, I think a few of them may be peeling off, but they may not talk about it. But I'm going to say there is an awakening, and to wake up to the reality of this person, I think is the beginning. Because then people have to look at themselves as to what on earth was I thinking about, and it does go down to dysfunctional families and alcoholism and being wounded as a child, all of this sort of thing that we need to go inside and fix. But to see things for the truth and the way they really are, that's how it begins. It just, reality steps in, and that's how it begins. So let's see. So I think I've covered it all today in this. So I think my conclusion is, on the Reichstag level, is like there can, coincidences of early in this administration. It was early in Hitler's administration, that sort of thing. But and the whole thing of taking advantage of a disaster, even though one probably caused it, the other, it's negligence. There was no planning that these things were going to happen by either one side or the other. It was like, what did you think was going to happen? Pretty much. So I see this as a very big turning point, but I also hate to see this as like, there's probably worse coming down the pike, and it seems to be really happening quickly. So what I want to say is, everybody, have a nice weekend. You can say prayers or think of these poor people and their families that are left behind, that were killed in this. But it's really, let's see what we'll pull an angel card over this, like from the Kabbalah, as far as taking care of ourselves. And we have Imamaya rising. Imamaya rising. I would say this is very positive because I'm going to say this is maybe the awareness, and this kind of goes along with judgment too. These people rising out of the grave. It's like you know, when you take care of yourself and you face reality, as harsh as that is, that there is a rising in consciousness. So all of this is playing out in a very kind of like a tragic, dramatic way. But with those of us that are here, it's a time for self-examination and maybe to rise in consciousness and in our humanity, because that's a big part of it. So with that, I'm going to wish you goodbye for now, and I will see you soon. So take care of yourselves. Bye.